Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to FCM Live. This time we have the Realtalk with me, Abel Pagaling, and I'll be talking about issues that matters to us on our day-to-day living. And today I have a very awesome guest with me, Mr. Sherwin Brierton from Lepage Solutions, and we are going to be talking about real estate. As you all know, the Canadian real estate market is a very big market.
Yes, it is.
And it's very dynamic. And there's been a lot of changes that's been happening in the real estate world. So I thought I'd bring in Mr. Brierton here to talk to us and give us some information on what's happening in the Canadian real estate. So for our viewers who are looking to sell or to buy a home, this is probably a good segment for you to pay attention to. But first of all, I want to welcome my guest, Sherwin. Thank you so much for taking this interview. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, very well.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so you're with Lepage Solutions?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about how long you've been with Lepage.
Actually, I've been with Lepage for probably 12 years since I've started, and I've been with the same brokerage for that amount of time also. So yeah,
that's awesome. And so we'll get into it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to discuss the things that are happening in the real estate market at a macro level. What's your overall perspective of the Canadian real estate, the general trends that are happening right now across the country?
Yeah, it's a good question, because a lot of times we sometimes get caught up just in our current environment, but there's a lot of things that are happening. A few years ago, it was like Vancouver and Toronto were
very hot.
Yes. Very hot. But it wasn't the same here actually in Alberta, and especially in Calgary. We had a different kind of a market. It was a little bit more sluggish. We, over the last few years, went through a lot of downsizing with some of the corporate companies downtown. So that certainly impacted the way we dealt with real estate, or the real estate market in general.
And right now, the oil and gas industry is still at I don't know if it's in an upward trend now or it's still at a downward trend. But how much of an impact is that having into our into our real estate market here in Calgary?
Yes, in fact, it does impact it quite a bit, because being a major driver of the industry, or at least the Calgary market, when jobs are lost, people tend to be a little bit more conservative in how they spend or how they view their finances, or big ticket purchases may not be their focus. So that does eventually drill down to real estate. And so we did experience a little bit of a slowdown. I don't think we're quite out of it yet, but before we can get out of it, we have to see some stabilization, right?
So overall, how's the Alberta market doing in real estate?
In real estate right now, Alberta market, and compared to other provinces, for example, BC or the Lower Mainland, and more specifically Ontario, probably a little bit slower. Okay, well, it is a little bit slower, and that is to be expected with the changes that occurred. And one of the biggest changes that occurred, aside from the petroleum industry kind of having some job losses, was the Bank of Canada introducing mortgage rules, different mortgage rules.
That's right, the stress test
and all that sort of good stuff, right? So that definitely did impact us further than what we were already going through.
And is that also a big factor in the slowdown? Is that impacting or is it just the jobs primarily that's causing?
I would say it's twofold. I would say the job market, and also the stress test that was imposed, right?
So for 2019, so right now I would think it's a bit slow.
It is.
I look at the news, and there's the stress test.
Right.
There's the slowdown in the job market here in Calgary, in Alberta.
Right.
I don't know if it's starting to pick up. There's a lot of people, I guess, leaving the province as well, but there's a lot of people that are coming in.
Migration.
That's right. So for 2019, what do we expect? Do we know if it's going to pick up soon, if it's going to get better, and on whose favor, the buyer or the seller?
Right. So currently it's still a buyer's market right now. However, I think we're going to stabilize this year, because I don't think the banks are going to increase the rates at all, or is the Bank of Canada?
Because they've been increasing.
They have been increasing, and as far as I know today, there's no increases. Although I'm not a mortgage broker, but this is what I hear from my contacts. I think our market should be able to see some growth maybe near the end of this year, but I don't think for the first couple of quarters of this year, I don't know if we're going to see the kind of growth that we want. Having said that, it's good for buyers to buy if they want to buy right now.
But we have a lot of really good news as well here in Calgary.
Yes.
You know, you've got, I think it was Amazon that's coming in, and a couple of companies that are coming into the city to take advantage of some of the some of the down. I wouldn't say downturn, but some of the discounted rates in real estate, because right now it is a buyer's market, and the prices are lower than what it would normally be if it was a good market.
Sure. But again, we also have to look at certain market segments, right? I mean, if you look at detached homes at a certain price, the prices haven't actually dropped. At more the higher end levels, there's more larger drops.
Right.
Where we've seen the greatest amount of drops and slowdown in the market is the condo market. Apartment style condos, there's just
there's a lot of supply.
There's a lot of supply, and prices have come down significantly on that. So you sort of have to look at your community, specific community, and the product itself too.
But overall, Calgary is a great market.
Overall,
right?
Calgary,
transportation, the roads are great.
Right.
We've got good infrastructure for the most part.
Yes.
I think it's still a great city to invest in.
It's an absolutely great city to invest in, and you know, Calgary's been through this before, and we will come back stronger like we normally will.
That's what I like to hear.
Right?
That's what I like to hear. So, a few questions here that I want to ask.
Yeah.
That's linked directly into buying and selling.
Sure.
When do you know when it's the right time to sell?
Well, I mean,
I guess it's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice.
But say I've made up my mind to sell.
Okay.
When do I know that it's the right time? Like, what are some of the factors that I should consider?
Well, I mean, here in Alberta, I think, and especially here in Calgary, most of real estate transactions take place, you know, like February to June kind of idea.
So
right?
timing is
it's usually that spring kind of time frame when we see a lot more activity in real estate. So if you were thinking about selling, you would probably want to sell early spring, or at least put your house on the market then.
So would you say that if you were thinking of selling this year, that this is probably the time to start contacting realtors?
Start contacting a realtor, start talking to your bank, and just seeing, or whoever holds your mortgage, just kind of see what they say about selling your place and what kind of costs may be associated with that if there's a mortgage attached to it. But now's the time. January is when you just want to start having those conversations and sort of plan for you know, a late February, mid-February list, preferably, at least in my opinion.
Perfect. And for buyers now,
yes. Yeah.
When do you know when to buy?
Well, like I said, I would say all of last year was a buyer's market, and we're
so it's still a good market.
It's still a good market. So I mean, in real estate, it comes down to really what it is you want to do. If you want to buy, now's the time to buy. If you want to sell and you have to sell, then you want to sell and take advantage of the spring rush, and that's a decision that someone's going to have to make. Right?
You probably have a lot more choices during the spring as well, as people put out their their properties.
They do. They prefer to a lot of people prefer to get the selling of their house done prior to summer holidays, right? Because that's when they want to go out and do other things.
That's what they want to go sell, and if they sell their house, they go out to Mexico.
That's right.
And do their vacation. Now, this one might be a bit more of a difficult question. You know, what is the biggest challenge on getting approved for a mortgage? So, say you have a first-time home buyer or a second-time home buyer, and they wanna upgrade, and then they want to take advantage of the supply.
That's right.
But they may not necessarily have changed jobs, or their income might not have substantially increased. What's the challenge in getting approved for a mortgage in that case?
So from a mortgage standpoint, I think the biggest challenge they're going to face is just the stress test and the new rules surrounding mortgages, right?
Right.
They are making it a little bit more tougher to obtain a mortgage. So the big thing is getting in touch with a good mortgage broker, having that conversation first, and kind of see what your qualifications are, what your ability to qualify for a new mortgage.
And so we talked about the stress test.
Yes.
Would you know what that is? Would you be able to explain some of the changes on the stress test?
So,
I know you're not a mortgage broker.
For sure. No, but like basically what it comes down to is I think you have to get pre-qualified at the Bank of Canada's posted rate before you can actually take advantage of the traditional bank's mortgage rates.
So it's not. Before it was up to the banks, I guess.
That's right.
To approve you,
yeah.
But now they have to. For our viewers who doesn't know what the stress test is, they have to go now by what the Bank of Canada.
Right. So basically, what it does is the stress test. Before you could qualify for X amount, now it's X amount minus a certain percentage is what the stress test has done. So it took your overall qualifying amount and brought it down lower. Mm-hmm. And obviously they did that purposely to help people manage their debt.
That's right. But at the same time, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It
right?
is.
Because now people who could afford to buy a house, say in 5 years ago, might not necessarily be able to afford it now because of the stress test.
Right, or a certain kind of house. They may not be able to get a certain style of house, but they may still get a house.
And for people who aren't, who can't be approved right now, what are some of the things that you recommend to put them in a position to be able to buy a house, say, in a year or two?
Right. So, I mean, again, I would revert that back to talking to their mortgage broker because they could probably outline all the things that they need to do.
Some of the financial strategies.
The financial strategies, some of the points they're going to have to obtain prior to getting that mortgage.
That's awesome. One last question.
Yeah.
You've given a lot of knowledge, you've given a lot of information, and these are the things that I think that people need to know when they're buying or selling, and we're going to be sharing this across Canada. So we're going to get some good audience on this. But for people who want to reach out to a realtor, who want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, certainly call me directly. My cell is on pretty much 24/7. My number is 403-813-1535.
And that's Sherwin Brierton from Lepage Solutions. Thank you so much, Sherwin.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Learned quite a bit from you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for tuning into FCM Live. This is our last episode for the evening. Stay tuned. Well, not stay tuned now, but next week, next Friday, we're going to have more episodes for you. And I love this Friday evenings because I always learn something new, and I always get to add value to people's lives. So I hope you enjoyed our episodes tonight. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.
See you.